To make this hat, I started out with some stiff slab that had been setting up overnight, and then I just traced my 5-gallon bucket. You could use anything to trace that large circle, a plate, a bucket, whatever you can find that's round. And I traced out a very large circle first. After tracing out my bucket, I went ahead and cut a pie slice out of the circle. The pie slice size can vary depending on how high of a peak you want to have for your hat, and you can go ahead and play around with different pie slices. I suggest starting out with a smaller slice and then gradually increasing larger, so that way you can play with the peak of your hat to see how high you want it to go. I also think my slab is just a little bit too thick for me to score and slip on top of itself, so I'm going to just do this little line here, and I'll be scoring and slipping and following it up with a piece of coil just to bring the two ends together. But to help me keep the form, I'm going to be patting it with some newspaper. I have a gap here, that's okay. I'm going to get my slip into that gap. And now I'm going to roll some coil and get it into that seam. If it feels like it's pretty stable and there's not too much flopping around happening, you could pick it up and go on the underside and really make sure that seam is good and stable. Because my slab was fairly stiff, I'm going to attempt to do that now. If it feels like it's too floppy and it's going all over the place, wait. I'm just very gently holding my hand under where that seam is as I'm working it. And I'm coming in with my fettling knife and really blending that connection. I'm going to go ahead and put it back on my newspaper, and then I will be wrapping this up and letting it rest for at least a night, if not a couple nights, before I go ahead and try and do any of my detailed carving or any attachments that I put onto it. So I have here a little piece of hardware mesh, which is just a piece of screening that is a metal screen with about 1/4 of an inch open weave. I'm going to score the whole hat. Alright, now I'm just going to take chunks of fresh clay. Before I remove it from the mesh, I'm just going to score. And then I'm going to be overlapping this, so it doesn't matter. I'm just going to make sure I'm tapping it to get the air bubbles out, and then there we go. Alright, because I just added all of this texture to it as separate little add-on pieces, I'm going to wrap this up in some plastic and let it set up overnight before I go ahead and add any attachments to it. Alright, so I have gone ahead and let this set up overnight, and my intention today was to come in and start adding attachments to create the storyline that was going to represent my garden. But unfortunately, the situation here in California has changed, and I need to get these things off to where they're going. And basically, I have run out of time on being able to continue. If you are one of my students, please go ahead and attach your storyline. These hats were here to only be basic samples for you to give you some ideas on where to go. So as of right now, though, I'm gonna call this one, and I hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you soon.